Alright, welcome back guys. I wanted to show off the thing you're looking at, the modular storage. I've been putting a lot of work into this guy, and I think it's getting pretty good. If you're familiar with modular systems, it's a mod I've been developing for about 3 or 4 years now. I've been on and off with it, but I every now and then come back and do it. And the modular storage system is something I have been maintaining since 1.6.4, I think was the original conception of the modular storage system. So this is my own take on storage. So as you can see here, I've got some pretty interesting stuff going on. So first of all, I'm just going to walk you through what we have at the moment and what we're working on. So here's the system over here, and I'll play around with that here in a minute because it has some items in it to demonstrate some of the features. But for now, let's say you want to craft your own one. Well, I don't have crafting recipes yet, so you can't. But if you put this guy down and you open him up, he's just a storage system. So let's get ourselves, actually I can do this with this, some stone. Now, I have 4 stacks of stone, but when I put it in here, it's 1 stack with the bigger integers there. So if I keep sending more in, and I think JEI desynced there a little bit, but as you can see, it's adding that in. Now, by default, this guy has capacity of 3,840 items. This can be expanded, and now we're going to talk about how this is a multi-block, because modular systems is all about multi-blocks. So, here we have the simple storage expansion. This will be fairly cheap and will be the basis of all expansions for crafting. In order to expand your system, this particular expansion will not do a thing to modify the core. However, you can right click on it. So think of this as your inventory cable. So see, the connected textures registers if it is connected to the core. So from way over here, I can access this. I can take stuff out, I can put stuff back in, shift clicking, all that fun stuff works. Now if I were to come down here, however, and I broke the line, all of a sudden now those guys won't connect. So that is what these are for. What I found these very useful for, and I know it doesn't sound good to just have stuff that didn't do anything, but you make a lot of them. Like the recipe will give you 8 of these out. If you have a house, you can run these under the ground, and then say you're over here and you got a wall, just to make this easier on myself. You can see here, connected textures is working. That should pop over here in a second. There we go. So, you got this, you can keep it on the floor, you can stick it up one, that'll connect here in a moment, and you can access it from over here. So it's like, sort of like AE, you got your cable and your access points, except all blocks are access points. And you can also pipe into here. So say if I put a hopper here, and there's no grass in here, if I stick some grass in here, now there's grass in here. And you can also do the same in reverse. So think of it as extending the structure. Now, I'm going to disconnect that just to make things easier and a little more compact so I'm not worried about stuff running around everywhere. Now, that's interesting enough, but we can do more with this. As you can see, I have 3 other stuff here at the moment. I have the capacity expansion. So as you can see, the capacity is 3,840. If I stick one down, and you can see if I right click on it and it doesn't open, it's not connected. The first one's kind of hard to tell. But now I have 4544. If I stick a few more down, let's make this capacity even bigger. There we go. And now you can see we're quickly gaining item availability. This is kind of like AE, but not. The way I'm tracking it is based off a set number of slots multiplied by 64. For my sanity, I don't want to work with gigantic numbers, so I work with the lower numbers and then I scale it up. So each storage expansion adds 11 slots, which is the equivalent to 11 times 64 items. I do go with the default 64 stack size. I don't do like 1 for some weird stuff. I'm not all about that, but as you can see, we have the storage system and it's been expanded. So there's a few more upgrades you can do. For one, there's the search expansion. And if I right click on this, now we have a search bar. So the search bar has a couple of neat functions. I'm going to, seems I set it focused. I'm going to grab some random stuff. Some stuff from modular systems. different kinds of woods. You'll see why in a moment. Some different woods, and I'm just going to shove all this in here. And I will have a button here to empty player inventory into it, and empty hotbar. I just haven't gotten to those yet. So now you can see I've got a bunch of stuff in here. If I just want to search for grass, I can search for grass, or I want to search for stone. These all have stone in the name, so they're all showing up. But let's say, I don't know what it's called, but I know it's for modular systems. I can do that, just like you would expect, and I can search for stuff that way. Or maybe I'm curious and I'm setting up some automation and I want to know things oredict. Now I don't have any ores in this world because this isn't really ore generating mod, but wood is oredict. So I want to see everything with the log wood oredict. And there you go. These three have the log wood. You use the $ as your first symbol, and then you type in the oredict tag, and it will sort based on that. And you can see I can do that, take it out, all that fun stuff. Now, let's say, I like the search. That's pretty cool. We want to search around stuff. It's definitely a lot better than it was in previous versions. Mainly because I've switched to an entirely different inventory system. I am not even using real stacks, really. It's kind of complicated to explain, and if you're interested, I encourage you to go look at the code. At the moment, this inventory screen looks a little bare. One, there's no upgrades in it. I plan to do something here. I know armor slots will go over here. There'll be some buttons over here, different sorting options here, just like you would expect in AE and other such mods, but at the moment, this is just your basic thing, with the search bar. So when you're searching, obviously you can press E and it doesn't close it. You can still hit escape to get out, but by default it does not set focused, so you can get in and out. You don't have to worry about, you open it, you don't see what you want, you start hitting E and it just doesn't close. That's one of my pet peeves. So with that out of the way, on to probably one of the more interesting upgrades and probably the most useful for a lot of people. The crafting upgrade. Stick down, wait for the connection. And there we go. The reason that it takes a second to connect is because this tile, if it doesn't have a valid core that it's attached to, every 5 seconds, I believe, on the dot, it will look around it very quickly and see, first, did it find a core? If it found a core, it attaches to the network that this core has created. Each core has its own network, and as things are created and removed from it, it's updated. When another storage expansion attaches to the core, it now becomes a root node of the tree. And anytime you add another one, like this crafting upgrade, he found a expansion that's connected to a core. So he said, hey, I'm going to connect to that core too, but make sure you remember I'm over here. So if you break, tell me so I can disconnect from the core as well. That's the simplest way to put it. If you're really interested, look at the code. It's about as simple as it can get in that sense. So we'll open it up, and ta-da! We have a crafting grid here. You can see the inventory screen up here shrunk a bit. I can't scroll because I don't have enough things to scroll, but if I did have enough things to scroll, that's what I'd be doing. Now I'm actually going to jump over to this guy over here because he's got a few more things, like, for instance, spruce wood. So I want to make a chest. If I shift right click on there, you can see I only had 3 oak wood. So it put the 3 oak wood there, but because the JEI is handy enough and it gave me a list of item stacks that are available for that recipe, I also pulled out the spruce wood, and I did it in order of what's first. So you can see spruce got pulled before jungle wood, which is either coincidental or on purpose. I couldn't tell you. So you can see it pulled everything out here, and as I pull that out, I didn't have any more oak wood to refill it, but if I put 3 spruce here and pulled it, you can see it refills. So the storage core will attempt to refill the inventory crafting until I can no longer craft. So you can see I got 19, 11. I can craft 1 more using these, but the moment I do, it can only refill 3. When I close the inventory, those things in the crafting grid will attempt to be put back into the storage grid, and if they do not have space, so say you're crafting and it's very full or some pipes piped stuff in, it will drop it on the ground just like a vanilla crafting table. The reason I went with this mechanic is because you'll run into issues multiple times where you are crafting
and somebody else comes in and accesses the system, especially with the ability to have it across such great distances. So each crafting grid is independent of the player using it on open. They are not connected to the tile entity. So if I was here and a friend came up, he wouldn't see what I was crafting. He could be crafting on his own. I can be crafting on my own. We would see each other updating the inventory, but we would not see each other updating this. So keep that in mind. The other players cannot see what you're crafting, but I find that's a good thing because when I go and like with Applied Energistics, I would open up a terminal because I wanted to craft something, and somebody's already got stuff in there, and I don't want to touch it. I don't want to mess with it. Maybe they've been working really hard at that. This will allow you to not have to have that issue. So that's a design choice I made. I might make it toggleable on and off by the owner who places it. I'm not sure yet, but at the moment, that's how we operate. You can see this one's got the capacity of 12,228 items, or 88 items, and that is the short and the sweet version of the storage system. It might not look like much. I know there are other mods out there that do stuff like this, and I know immediately people are going to compare this to easy storage if they're aware of it. But I would like to say that well before I even knew easy storage was a thing, I had modular storage. Go back, look at my record. I've had this for a while. I now feel as though I have someone to compete with in a way. It's friendly. I like what they did there, and I think they did a good job, but I think I can do it better. And that's nothing saying that they're bad developers or anything. I think personally I would make different design choices, and that's why this is here. Modular storage has always been one of my favorite aspects of this mod. I think it's the coolest part of modular systems. Those are cool, don't get me wrong, the furnaces are cool, but I mean, how cool is this? It's an early game AE, it does all the stuff you want to do, and it handles your inventory for you. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make this the best inventory system you can use. And I think once you see what I can do with it, you will not be missing AE too much in 1.9, which, by the way, we are in Minecraft 1.9, so that's something to look forward to. This is running in 1.9, just to prove it. You can see I got that there in my offhand. That's not to say this thing's perfect yet. I have spent a lot of time getting this to work. There's some interaction here. You can see I'm shifting in and out. The font's smaller up here. I only pull out a single stack if I can. It automatically sorts. There's a lot happening. This is something that when I went into it, I didn't have a clue how I was going to implement it. I've tried it in the past and had severe issues getting it to work. And in fact, for the first time in a long time, I actually was just stuck up against the wall, not knowing what to do. Luckily, I think that at this point, it is doing everything that I want it to do. And it's doing it eloquently, whichever one's the real word, you decide. I think that if I were to write this and to make it perfect, this would be it. If you notice a slight discoloration here, that's some sort of bug with, I think, Forge's or Vanilla system. I don't know. It worked fine, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work. And I've been beating my head up against the wall trying to figure out why, and I see literally no reason why that shouldn't work. So if you see that, I'm sorry. The inside texture of this is a solid color, which makes it very, very obvious. I plan on adding noise to it, but for my own sanity while developing and adding textures to these, I've made them a solid uniform color. So that won't be there constantly. I'll add a subtle noise to it. I like the clean, solid color, but I also think it needs a little bit of noise. You can see this one's even darker. That's what I plan to do at some point in the future. As you can see, that's about all this thing has at the moment. I don't think I have anything else to show you that's implemented. That doesn't mean that I don't have more planned. So if you don't care about what's planned and you just want to see this, there you go. By the time this video's out, I'll have all this pushed to GitHub, which will automatically trigger a build on our Jenkins server. If you want to play around with this, and I encourage you to, because I can't find all the bugs. And I feel this is stable enough that if you put it into a world, You could use it and it would be fine. Granted, there's no crafting recipes. I'll try to put those in before I send it out, I promise. If not, just spawn them in, do some whatever. I feel this is stable enough to be tested out. If you understand that this is early build, this is just now to the state where I feel like it's safe enough to test. So if you lose items, A, tell me you lost items, and B, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. This is early. Minecraft 1.9 is very volatile. Just bear with me, and the more bugs you report to me, the better I can make it. And I don't think there's going to be any bugs that I won't be able to solve. I think I've written it in such a way that it should be pretty simple. I haven't tested all mod interactions, even with our own mod Neotech. So these are all things that need to be done, and I am only one person. I've recently started a new job, but it's part-time, so it doesn't take up as much time. But, you know, my time is not as abundant as it has been in the past. Yet I'm still going to try to give all the effort I can. Yeah, that's modular systems. I just wanted to give an update because I am really excited about this whole storage system. I have wanted to do this way, exactly like this. What you're seeing on screen, granted, it's going to look a little prettier, don't get me wrong, but I have wanted single item stacks that are above normal stack size. I have wanted the ability to just drop it anywhere and it gets inserted in the system. Look at this, I could drop it anywhere on any of these slots, just drops it right on in. I've wanted the ability to shift click into NEI, which is now JEI, in order to craft, like let's say usage, just craft stuff and have it refill. I mean, look at that. That's pretty cool. If you see the text rendered as smaller, that's because, and this will be interesting, watch my cursor if you can. There's a 4 there. The moment it gets outside of the storage area, this window up here, it goes back to normal size. That's because this font gets very, very large, and I'm going to do my best to show you one of the reasons why this is important. It looks like the main inventory isn't syncing. There we go. So I'm going to insert all these. For one, once it gets over 1,000, it's going to say 1K. It does the same for a million, billion. If you want to know how many there are, you can just hover over it. It'll give you quantity and stacks, so 24 stacks plus 0 remainder. If I were to get like a single blue wool and stick them in here, you would see it's 24 plus 1. So that's what that's all about. The ones that are small enough to render the actual icon and number, they will not give you that, but because 2K isn't the most useful, it'll render that to help you. It looks like my rounding is going up, so I'm going to have to floor that. So that should be 1K. I'll have to look into that. Just found a bug right there for you. So again, find bugs, tell me, I can fix them. That's how this whole game is going to work. Try it out, put it in your 1.9 worlds. I hope you'll find it very useful. I can't wait to continue to work on this. I think it has some pretty serious potential to be a pretty cool mod. The modular storage has always been something I wanted to do right, and now that I'm doing it right, I'm pretty pleased with it. Scrolling, filtering, all of that is done the way I wanted to do it originally, but didn't have the knowledge or the capabilities to do. The the item handler introduced in 1.8 made a lot of this really simple, along with the capabilities. If you know what the capabilities are, that is how to return what something is. So the item handler is a capability, and when a hopper or a pipe, that's why Neotech pipes broke a lot of mod interaction because they didn't update to this. It looks for an item handler, and it calls a specific method in the tile entity. Now, I return the object of the item handler through that instance. So instead of making these inventories and passing all interaction from here over to here, I can return the actual object in the proxies. I don't have to make these inventories. They don't have to worry about any of that. If something asks me, hey, give me your item handler capability, it just says, well, I have a core, so here you go. And that'll do it.
I also have forgotten to mention there's a lot I have to do on this thing, so that's why when it looks kind of like it's done, it's really far from done. There'll be buttons here to clear this, clear this, clear this. These two might be grouped into one button just to clear everything, and clear everything. You'll click a button, it'll empty this. You'll click a button, it'll empty this. That'll be fun. But not only that. Here's something that is really important that I haven't mentioned yet in this video, but I've mentioned in the past. There will be tabs right over here. The top one, and the one that will be default, will be the item page. That's what this guy is. And the middle one will be the fluids page. This will change to a screen with tanks on it. And then you can interact with tanks there. And the third one will be an energy one. So this modular storage will not only be a storage system based on items. That's its primary responsibility, and that's what I'm going to be spending the most time on to begin with. But it will also have the capabilities to be fluid handler and energy handlers. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming pretty far in the future. I got to get the item side handled first, but the other two are pretty simple, and I think it won't be too hard to do. The framework is there to make it really, really simple. So hopefully that won't be an issue, and that's a big word there, hopefully. If you have any questions and or suggestions, please feel free to comment here. You can reach me on Twitter as well. The whole thing, there's links in the description. Go there, talk to me, tell me what you think. I think these are pretty neat. Go to our Jenkins, download it, give it a shot. And I guess I'll see you whenever I have another update on this. Alright, goodbye.